Morning dear, thanks very much for coming today.
Okay.
Can you just tell us your name and your current role please?
My name's Dean Lyman, Street Work Supervisor, HS2.
Brilliant. And your current role, you're looking after a team of operatives?
Yeah, managing and on the safety side of it, cliency, utilities teams, all areas they're working at, basically making sure if it's all up to date and correct with them, basically.
That's good. I understand you were involved in a serious incident many years ago. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, that was 2003. I was working Barnet. It was on a Friday afternoon. We had to do 3 disconnections going into a property. It was snowing, bad weather. We excavated everything out. There was 3 supplies. I'd cut the first two supplies. On the third one, had the clamp round now, squeeze it off. As I said, the weather was bad. You want to get finished quickly. Looking back now, we could have used a cat and Jenny a bit more. Identified them, which I knew now was a cable. Squeezed it off, put the poly cutters on there. Where the trench, where it had been snowing and raining, the trench was filling with water. Put the poly cutters on there. I turned around to get the fittings. Not a second thought. Cut. Next thing you know, flash of flame, explosion, electric shock. But lucky enough, I wasn't touching the poly cutters. I think it would have been a different story. But I just thought I'd mention that the importance of, if I wouldn't have had a boiler suit, flame retardant on, the only part of my body that was burnt was my hand. But the actual line that was there, it clearly shows everything else. That stopped me getting burnt, because I ended up, once I had to cut there and done the accident, I eventually got out the excavation. Everything was burnt off. My supervisor saw me. The retardant was gone. I was basically there in my sort of underwear, but it did stop me getting burnt, apart from a couple on my cheeks. As I said, this was nearly 20 years ago, but that was the only part of me with the burn. Just looked at who was there. Didn't really want to wait for an ambulance, because I was just totally black from the flame and being burnt. So my supervisor ran me straight to Barnet Hospital. They see the state of me, so didn't have to wait for anything, straight to a bed, heart monitor, clean the wound. Next thing I know, all you want to think about is phoning people at home or whatever, let them know something's happened. Let my wife know. She sort of didn't know what was going on, but she travelled down. I was in the bed just for one night. Then I had it bandaged up, went to my local hospital. They couldn't believe that they'd released me from that hospital. The wound had not been cleaned. So they referred me to Brompton Hospital, Chelmsford, for burns. I went there, and that was the worst thing really, that they had to clean the wound out. Where I'd been digging, excavating, it was all still there. So there was an open wound. It got infected overnight. That's clean that wound. It was very painful. So I spent a week in there, basically until it cleaned up. That was it, and released there. But it was just letting people, obviously we was rushing a bit, we're trying to get work done. You never think it's going to happen to you, and it did. And then after that, for a good long while, I couldn't really actually cut any sort of poly, or your second thought comes into it, because where before it was just a natural thing to do, that sort of changed everything. And yeah, you live and learn. And as I said, the reason sort of doing this video is because the importance of wearing the flame retardant overalls. If that would have been, I know it's 20 years ago, we still had them on, but sometimes people didn't. And I think if you would have been in normal clothes or something else, it would have been a different story, sort of thing. But that was the incident, and good for a long while after. You don't realise, all right, that clears up, but you had the flashbacks, you think you remember it, then you think how lucky you was, and yeah, it's the same old story. You never think it's going to happen to you, but it does.
So what was you discussed the physical impacts, mental impacts on yourself and your family? That must have been hard
obviously
for many
it
years.
hurt a lot. The physical side, I've never had a burn before. I didn't realise when I went into the hospital how much a burn can affect your body, because it's an open wound, and then obviously your family side of it, you got to ring them, or the doctor's got to ring them from the hospital. You're in hospital, they don't know what's sort of going on, so they come down. It's not nice for anyone, is it? Sort of thing. You don't want to put them through that, yeah, it's just it can be avoided, and it should have been avoided, but it wasn't, and it happened.